Good afternoon. This is Lurking Lately. Uh, I've been doing some guides recently on paradox types games for absolute beginners. So we've done EU4, we've done CK2, now we're going to start on Stellaris. Stellaris is your 4X grand strategy type game. It's kind of similar to Civilization Beyond Earth. It's similar to kind of Galactic Civilization, even like Master of Orion. But it's a paradox grand strategy, so it's real time with pausing. It focuses a lot more on like science fiction scenarios, and it really captures kind of I think the spirit of a science fiction game really well. I'll start off by saying that this is the one I probably have the least amount of time with. I know my weaknesses, and I'll probably talk about it during the stream. But I do know the basics. I can show you basically what everything does, kind of basic strategy ideas. And so with that, let's begin. So Stellaris again, it's got lots of DLC. Not a lot. It's probably got the least amount of DLC, probably because it's the newest game. But the DLC, except for stuff like species packs and stuff like that, it's all pretty. The DLC that is out there adds a lot, so I would recommend getting it. Wait for a Steam sale, see if there's some kind of deal to be had, and then purchase it. But it's a lot of fun. There's also a ton of options, so we'll just get started with it. We'll get started on a new game, and you can pick pre-made. A bunch of pre-made species and whatnot. I personally I think like the easiest. So there's a lot that goes on in creating species and picking different species. I like kind of a custom one. I found that this one's kind of the easiest one to do, and we'll go into the edit screen and talk about why. So let's pick this one that I already kind of pre-made. So you can choose from all sorts of appearances, machine, humanoid, all, fungoid, all that kind of stuff, which adds a lot of flavor. You can pick species name lists and stuff like that. The name of your species, the plural, the adjective. You can pick different names for people. Okay, so the first kind of big decision are your traits, and you basically have a total of two. You can pick multiple traits. Now some are penalties and some are bonuses, okay, and you have to have either a positive or preferably a 0 points left. There's some people that actually start out with a bunch of negative traits, and then they use a genetic modification to take them all out, but that's kind of a more advanced thing. And they all kind of have different bonuses. You can have more food from your species, more energy, more minerals, better research, all that kind of stuff. I chose rapid breeders. That kind of gives you plus 10% to your population growth. In this kind of latest iteration of Stellaris, population growth is very, very important. For that reason, I also chose nomadic, because you get more growth from immigration, and we're going to be having. I play a wide empire and not a tall one, so we're gonna have a lot of planets out there that are new colonies, and so this will add to the overall growth. And then because you start off with like 2 positive trait points, I had to take one away, so I picked slow learners. It means our leaders will gain experience slower. Hey Firestar, how are you? Welcome to the stream, man. So I picked slow learners, and so that's going to give us a kind of a penalty to. Well, thanks for stopping by, man. I really appreciate it. If you have anything to say, feel free to chime in. But we'll be able to kind of breed that out through genetic manipulation and whatnot. Then you've got stuff like the name and class of your homeworld. Basically, it's divided into 3 different types of planets that your species is good at colonizing. You can have a dry planet, a wet planet, or a frozen planet. And what that means is that I picked a continental world as my preferred planet, and that means that we can do, we can settle this at about like all the other, at like around 80%. Any type of continental planet will have an 80% habitability rating, and then I believe, a tropical or an ocean world, that they're also within kind of the realm of what our species can currently colonize with a decent amount of habitability. We'll get into that later. But the thing is, so they're going to be able to colonize, continental, tropical, and ocean planets. They're not going to be able to colonize, well, they can, but very poorly, arid worlds, desert worlds, Arctic worlds, that kind of thing. So, in some sense, there's kind of an equal spread of all the planet types in the game, and whether there's enough good ones close to you is kind of randomly generated. But there's enough, but there is a reason why you pick it, and so we know that we're kind of limited to these kind of groups of planets. Again, just aesthetically, you got city appearance, government, and ethics. I chose Fanatic Materialist because it gives you the 10% to research speed, which is good. And I chose Egalitarian because you get more influence from your factions, and your specialists produce a little bit more. Now, we're going to be playing kind of as good guys. You can have authoritarian governments, you can have theocratic governments, militaristic governments, xenophobic governments, all that stuff. But I found for, again, a beginner's game, these are kind of the easiest ones to run in terms of, keeping factions happy and getting influence from them. And then for your, once you pick that, you can also pick your authority type. Now, I prefer democratic. Democratic's not good because, let's say you have a good ruler, he may not necessarily get reelected, or you may have to spend influence to reelect that ruler. However, what happens is every time a new ruler is elected, they have kind of this mandate, and if you succeed, usually a pretty easy thing to do within 10 years, you get a bunch of, what's the word for it? Influence. I'm not really sure the term, but you get kind of a bonus. With oligarchic governments, you elect a ruler every 20 years, and what happens then is each ruler has a specific kind of like I don't know what you call it, but they have like a specific focus, and some of them are really good, some of them are really bad. Then you've got your various, dictatorial, your hive minds, your machine intelligences, and your corporations. Again, for a starting game, I would say Democratic's probably the easiest to go. And then once you pick your ethics and your government, you get a list of all these different civics you can have. Again, for a starting game, I like, your first game, I like Technocracy. Mechanist, it's good and it's bad. The good things are you start off with a little bit of extra technology. You also, your robots have a little less upkeep, so it synergizes well with the materialist ethic. So you're paying 25% less in energy maintenance for your robots. And finally, what that means is you have, in addition to your primary species, you have a group of robots who initially they can only kind of do menial labor, but they do add more to your population because you have basically two populations growing in tandem with each other as opposed to one. The drawbacks are, of course, that you're going to be really hurting for energy early on. So that may not even be the best choice. If you're not going to choose a mechanist, let's see here. Efficient bureaucracy is okay. Environmentalism is really good. That's got a reduced consumer goods upkeep for your populations. Functional architecture is pretty good. It'll keep down the maintenance costs. Meritocracy is good. You got better, higher level leaders. Specialists produce more. And parliamentary system is also really good. It increases kind of the faction influence game from happy factions. So that'll get you more influence overall. But I'm going to stick with... Yeah, admin cap's good, but if I'm dead honest with you, Firestar, for me, admin cap is just a number, and I don't mind going way over it. Efficient bureaucracy is good, especially early on, but it becomes less important as your empire is more developed. I've found. Early on, though, it's really good. But I'm going to go ahead and choose Mechanist. just because. Just because. But there are a ton of options. Feel free to play around with them. And then you got stuff like your advisor voice, don't really care. Empire name, whatever you want. Your flag, you can choose whatever you want. Ship appearance, again, aesthetic purposes. And, you know, your phenotypes for your species. Again, that's all aesthetic. So now that we've done that, I'm going to hit done. And we're going to start with kind of the game details. And let me just move this just a tiny bit over here. Okay, so if you've got a really powerful computer, like a really powerful processor, you can go for a large galaxy or a huge galaxy. I prefer medium. Small I find too small for myself. Medium is kind of just right for me. You can also choose the different types of galaxies you want. This will kind of affect your star lane distribution, stuff like that. I just go with elliptical. I'm not really too concerned about that. AI empires, I would suggest just going with whatever they say for the galaxy size. So you see how AI empires is 12 for large, 9 for medium. Let's just go with 9. Again, because it's your first game, just take advanced AI starts down to 0. What this means is that in the game of these other 9 AI empires, you know, you can have up to 9 of them start technologically ahead of you. So they're farther ahead in the space race. That can make the game more difficult. If you bring it down to advanced AI, off, then everyone's kind of on the same footing starting off. I would leave Fallen Empires and Marauder Empires alone. They add a lot of flavor and a lot of kind of strategy to the game. So we'll talk about them later. People really play around with tech, tradition, cost, habitable worlds, primitive civs, and crisis strength. I've never really messed with these sliders too much, but basically, the more habitable worlds you have, the easier the game possibly is. And then your multiplier, it can make tech and traditions move a lot faster than they normally would. I'm just gonna leave it all the same as it normally is. For the mid-game start and end-game start and victory year, I believe the game starts in 2100 AD. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll see as soon as we hit start. But this basically says, when does like a mid-game crisis start to happen, and then when does the end-game crisis start to happen? Crises are like when they're kind of these scripted events where up to that point you've been fighting with other empires and kind of doing your thing, and then suddenly some outside force or some strange event happens and it starts to really shake things up. We'll leave those alone for now. I think I actually added on a couple years to the default, so we'll leave it alone as it is. The game starts off kind of slow, and then it quickly snowballs. So if you feel like if you're playing the game and the mid-game crises are happening and it's too much for you, or you've survived the mid-game crisis and you're at the end-game crisis and again it's too early for you, you can always move it forward in years, and the general start date will happen later and it'll be easier. Since these guides are just beginner guides, it's not even going to really affect us that much because I'm not going to play a full game this time around. This is kind of just like Season 1, all that kind of stuff. For difficulty, basically, you've got all the way from Cadet to Grand Admiral. We'll keep it at Captain. I think Captain's a middle point. Let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so it's like the lower middle point. Again, I'm not the best at this game, so that's fine with me. Scaling difficulty means if you were to pick Grand Admiral from the start, the AI would have huge bonuses, but with scaling difficulty, they start off at the same stage as you, but as the game progresses, they'll slowly gain more and more bonuses relative to you. This is just to make up for deficiencies in the AI, logic. They just can't compete with humans. I'm not that good, so I'm just going to leave it on Captain scaling difficulty. I'm going to leave aggressiveness normally, empire placement. I'm going to say random as opposed to clusters. Clusters start you out, groups of empires closer together so they interact with each other faster. I actually prefer, and it's not necessarily a guarantee, but I prefer having more space between myself and other empires, whether they're friendly or not. And advanced neighbors, turn that off. Again, you can mess around with this stuff. I've never bothered to mess with this ever. This is just like, how many different connections you can have via hyperlanes to different systems. Again, to make the game a little easier, I put guaranteed habitable worlds to the max, so in this case it's 2. Caravaneers on. Yeah, sure, caravanners are great. They're a little annoying with the spam, but some of them are really good. And we'll just turn on Iron Man. So let's hit play and cross our fingers. Okay, so these kind of intro little blurbs will change depending on your government and ethics types. We'll just hit begin. Let me just move this a little bit over here. Okay, so you start off kind of game pause. It's 2200, so we have 200 years before the mid-game crisis. And we start off just kind of in our own solar system here. We've got some pop-ups, just like with EU4 and CK2. These are stuff that they want to bring your attention to. So we'll start off with assigning research. I'm just going to pick improved research by 20% for physics, because I don't see anything that really strikes my fancy right now. It's also the cheapest one. For society, I'm going to pick the monthly unity plus 2. And again, we'll go over this in just 1 second. And for engineering, I'm going to pick, again, the cheapest improved engineering research. So that gets rid of the little flags there. So let's start off here. Again, kind of like in EU4 and CK2, you got your little government tab here. It's less important. There's not a lot of nested things in here as there are in the other games, but it basically gives you an overview of your government. Gives you your demographic stuff, information, including like kind of your modifiers, and then that's pretty much it. It also tells you the traits of your ruler. So my ruler is an industrialist. That means we make 10% more minerals monthly, and he's an investor, so there's better trade value. These aren't the best traits in the world. I would have loved to have an expansionist. That would be fantastic. But what can you do? You get the ruler that you get. Okay, so you've got let's talk about all this stuff up here. What you've got is your energy credits. That's basically money, okay? And because we're running a bunch of robots, we're losing money right off the bat. Also, you've got your minerals. These are kind of like this is like your raw resource that gets converted into other stuff. And also it's used to build just basic items, on your planet and in space. So basically the rule of thumb is you don't want it red, you want it positive. And you'll see here that there's actual like a limit, an upper limit to how much you can store. This can be increased with things that you build and with technology, but right now it's 1,500 minerals and 50,000 energy credits. You always want that number going up. You don't want it going down. And then you've got your food again, same as before. This just keeps you don't want a negative. If you run out of food, people start starving, but it's kind of an empire-wide thing. And then you've got consumer goods. So consumer goods, well, I guess we have to go into the planet for this. So you produce, okay, it's all kind of interrelated, so I don't know where to start. Okay, so on your planet you have actual districts, okay? And you'll see here that our planet size is 17. That means that this planet can have up to 17 districts built on it, okay? And so right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 10 built, okay? And it says we only have 4 districts left. And that's because if you look here at this tooltip, it says from planetary features -3. Now, if we were to click down here, show planetary features, you'll see these little boxes. And these are districts that are blocked by like tile blockers, so to speak. So there's like, there's usable land, but it's under industrial wasteland. We'd have to spend money to clear it away. And then there's sprawling slums that are blocking another one. So we'd have to, do something about that population. But districts are kind of, okay, so your housing district, what it does is it provides housing right here on your planet. Now, if you want more people on your planet, they need to have spare housing. So right now we have 11 units of housing extra, more than are being used right now. If we needed more housing to fit more people, we'd pick this. In addition to the +5 housing, it also creates 1 clerk job, and then below that it says what the clerks do. They produce trade value and amenities. And so each clerk job produces 2 amenities and 2 trade value. And then you'll see also that the city district itself has an upkeep of 2 energy credits kind of per month. Then you can have a generator district. Again, that it costs 1 energy per month to upkeep. It provides 2 housing as well as 2 technician jobs. And technician jobs produce 8 energy. Okay? And then you've got a mining district, which again, 2 housing, 2 miner jobs, they produce minerals. And then you've got an agricultural district, 2 housing and 2 farm jobs. Okay? So for the not necessarily for your mining, but for like a lot, unless you're lucky, a lot of your energy is going to be built on planets in generator districts. I've just found that there's not a lot of, at least in the games that I've played, there's not a lot of energy to be exploited in the solar system itself, or the universe itself, the galaxy, sorry. And then you're going to also be producing all your food. There's a lot of minerals out there, so this may not be the main drive of your colonies, but early on, you're going to have to balance which one you want to build. So these produce your raw, energy, minerals, and food, okay? And then on your planets themselves, you have building slots. And for every 5 population units you have on your planet, you can build an additional building. Now, some of them, you start off with a planetary administration, no matter what, of some sort on a planet. But then you'll see that you've got your civilian industries, and they create 2 jobs that turn your minerals into consumer goods. Okay, now consumer goods are very important in the game. They, your general population needs them to kind of live and be happy and content. Also, you'll see that consumer goods, research labs, they produce research jobs, which convert consumer goods into research. So you see, it's kind of a production chain. So you start by, mining the minerals. You convert it into either, alloys for your military or consumer goods, and then consumer goods are in turn changed into research, into Unity and other stuff and other jobs. I also have a robotics factory here, which is just building robots. So it's kind of a balancing act. You start off, you kind of want to have a good industrial base, but you don't want to fall behind in producing more advanced units like, ultimately research, alloys, and other stuff. And you're going to be looking a lot at this, kind of planet screen for all of your planets, because you're going to be concerned with, crime. As long as you're doing a good job, crime's not that big of an issue, and neither is stability. Also, since we're, we don't have any slavery in our empire or anything like that, it's going to be easier to maintain. But you're going to be looking just to make sure that all your planets have enough housing for people, that they have a positive number of amenities, and that there's no unemployment. Okay. Now, what you may say is, ooh, look, I got a slot, I can build stuff. Why don't I build stuff? Well, keep in mind that every single building you build and every district you build, it's going to cost you energy and maintenance, okay? So if I was to build, let's say, another alloy factory right off the bat, there wouldn't be enough people to work the jobs, but I'd be paying maintenance money just to keep it open. So I like to make sure that before I build anything on a planet, that there's an unemployed population, or there's gonna be shortly, and so that as soon as it's built, it starts contributing something rather than just taking away from my energy credits. So these are the. So then we've got consumer goods. It's kind of like it's used by your population, and it's also used to create other more advanced, things like research and whatnot, and influence. Then you've got alloys. Alloys are used by your military, so your fleet. You need them to build ships and starbase outposts and that kind of thing. It's good to have those. Then you've got your influence, okay? Influence is actually very important and very hard to get. It allows you, if we go out to the galaxy map mode, it allows you to claim new systems for yourself, via star bases. It allows you to enter into diplomatic pacts with other civilizations. It allows you to, make claims on other civilizations and all that kind of stuff. So you got to be careful with this, because there's a lot of stuff you can spend it on, but it's not necessarily the most optimal way to get it. Now, because of our starting ethics, I kind of know the factions we're going to get, and they're pretty easy to keep happy, as long as you don't mind playing a good guy. And so once factions come on the scene, we're going to be getting more influence, but for right now, it's always going to be a very valuable resource to have. And then Unity. Unity allows you to kind of pick traditions for your empire, and then once you get all the traditions, they give little bonuses along the way. This is very similar to Civilization. Once you get, each little bonus you have fills out the tree. Once you fill out a tree, you get kind of an extra bonus and an ascension perk. So you kind of want to pick one tradition at a time, and you want to fill it out and get an ascension perk, and then move on to the next one. In terms of starting traditions, again, I play wide, so I'm all about expansion. But I believe even if you play tall, you should, only because, the bonuses are great. Reduced starbase influence cost to build starbases, a higher admin cap so that you can have more territory and planets and sectors under your control without facing a penalty. Reduced starbase cost, which again, if you have big empire, is going to be huge. Colonies starting with additional population. Population's really slow growing, and population growth speeds increased as well. It's all good, but it's all done by Unity. Now, Unity, the amount of Unity it takes to get like a tradition or stuff like that, it's affected by how much over the, well, we'll talk about admin cap in a second. So then we've got our research. Right now we're not producing much of it, but you'll see here kind of in the galaxy map mode that we have two kind of orbital bodies where we can get more physics research and engineering research. We can also build more labs, but more labs will require more people, and they require food. The lab itself requires energy, and it needs enough consumer goods to run. Then you've got here your kind of special resources. This is something for later in the game when we discover them and learn how to exploit them. They're actually very useful and very important. Right now we can ignore them. Empire Sprawl. So this is what Firestar was actually talking about in chat. So right now, our total Empire Sprawl is 14. Because we have 10 districts on our planets, that's plus 10, plus our system, that's plus 2, plus a colony, that's plus 2. Once we get above that admin cap of 30, so if we build a bunch more districts, or if we claim a bunch more star systems around us, we'll start getting a penalty. And that penalty starts off really small and insignificant, but as you go further and further over your cap, it becomes more and more severe. Now, when they first made these changes, I was really, really concerned about it because, after a while the penalties got pretty big. And the biggest penalty is to your science, research. It'll put a huge penalty on your science research. But what I found actually is that it stops you kind of at natural moments. Like it's, at first you maybe, you may move up to a certain point and say, okay, I don't want to pay any more in a penalty. But because you grabbed all this land and all these extra planets, they'll become developed enough that you can build enough labs and enough energy generating, units, that the penalty doesn't really even affect you that much. I mean, it'll still affect you in terms of traditions and research and stuff, but you can overcome it just by having well-developed land. But it will be something that we have to watch for, and I guess the way to look at it is kind of like if you've ever done your taxes, right? You'll know that for a certain, well, at least in the United States, for a certain amount of income that you make, you're not taxed at all, okay? But then once you make more than that set amount, each each $5,000 you make over that amount, it'll start to get taxed. At first just a little bit, and then more and more. It's kind of like a progressive tax system. So I like to think of it as like a tax on doing too well. It's something to consider, but it can be overcome, and you don't have to worry about it too much. It's weird that I talked so much about something that I said you don't have to worry about too much. It's something you do have to worry about early on, but not later in the game. That's a good way of saying it. Then the rest of this stuff is kind of informational. Starbase capacity. We'll talk about starbases later, and your naval capacity. So this is actually kind of important. If you start building, kind of like an EU4, if you start building more ships than your total capacity, you have to pay more in maintenance. So you kind of, the trick is you want to build to your limit, maybe a little bit over, and it's kind of a limiting factor. Now this can be increased by research, certain research branches in the society tech, so they're important to get. And the one thing I hate about this game, that I absolutely hate about it, is that the technologies that come up, they're weighted. So you may be waiting on a certain technology, and it'll be driving you crazy, but it just doesn't pop up in your list of options. So that's the one thing I don't like about this game. I'm just gonna complain about it now, get it over with. Over here is your outliner. This is actually very useful, especially in this game. It'll give you a list of all your planets by sector. It'll give you a list of all your different star bases, by type, your fleets, and your civilian ships. Okay, you're always going to want your civilian ships out doing stuff. Okay, just so you don't have to watch me talk just for all this time, let's talk about what they can do. Construction ship, they can build star bases in systems that you fully surveyed. They can also exploit resources in systems that you control by having a starbase in them. Okay, so looking at our energy situation, I see here, and by the way, a good way to see if you've claimed everything in a system that you can with a construction unit is to just kind of go out into galaxy map mode, and if you see numbers here, that means you have stuff that's not being used. So we're currently losing 3 energy units a month, and we can see here that we've got the capacity to harness 2 more right away. And now the great thing about these kind of orbital goodies is that they don't require any population to exploit. So we're going to select our construction ship, we're going to right click here, and we're going to say build mining station. It's going to cost us all our minerals, but it's well worth it. A science ship is not a civilian ship. What we use it mainly for is to survey unknown star systems so that we can go in and claim them later and find cool stuff. So we're going to send this science ship, your starting system starts out completely surveyed, so we're going to send this out this way. And, okay, so we've got our 2 civilian ships working. You kind of want to look at your outliner always and your civilian ships and make sure they're always doing something. Otherwise, they're just wasting money for you. Now let's kind of look over here on this menu tab over here. You've got your contacts. At this point, it's not important. Once we meet other civilizations, it'll become more important. But this is where you meet and talk to other civilizations. Your situation log. As our science ships go out and explore stuff, there's going to be like different kind of missions that pop up, and so this is kind of where you track them all. It'll list all the anomalies, kind of your score right now. You've got the right now it's the kind of the national market. It'll turn into the galactic market eventually. This is actually a very useful feature. Now, when you can take items like, let's say, your food, and you can sell it for energy, okay? Or you can buy food with energy, and the same thing with minerals, alloys, consumer goods, and then eventually special resources as well, as soon as you start generating them. Now, they take a market fee of 30%, so 30% of the value of energy of what you sold, that goes directly to, the market itself, okay? So you don't want to, like, lean on this. Oh, no, I'm playing wide. Wide as heck. So you don't want to lean on this kind of as a crutch all the time. You want your economy sorted out, in general. But in key moments, this is very, very useful to have. So if we run out of money, we can sell some food. We can sell, preferably not alloys or consumer goods, but we can do that. And then the next thing, planets and sectors. I don't really use this screen that much, so I'm not really going to talk about it. Expansion planner. When we survey a bunch of systems and start to claim them, we'll have, we're going to start surveying a bunch of stuff. And so this kind of helps keep it all in order. So if you're looking for places to colonize, you can do it directly from here. It's a useful tool. Policies are useful too. Now, because this is like a beginning game, we're going to use it mostly to keep our factions happy and producing influence. But there are some things we're going to change right off the bat. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the food policy and switch from dietary balance to nutritional plenitude. This means that we will generate less food per turn, but we will have a little bit more happiness, and more importantly, we'll have increased growth speed. So I've never seen a reason why not to do that. I guess maybe if for some reason, like, you lose some of your farm planets in a war and your people are starving to death, then you can cut back. But right now, it's all about growth. The rest of this stuff we'll leave alone. We will start messing with it when factions do appear. But this is kind of where you can mess around and fine-tune your empire. Next is edicts. Edicts are good, but as far as I'm concerned, like Map the Stars is a great edict, right? But as far as I'm concerned, influence is it's tough to get, and I would rather spend the influence claiming different, adjacent, or nearby star systems than I would having a better survey speed and anomaly discovery chance. So there's that. We'll talk about policies more when we get edicts more when we get better ones through technology or through having resources. We already talked about traditions. With the latest DLC, there's also relics. We'll talk about that when that pops up. Ship designer. Just so you know, the game itself auto designs ships. And so what that basically means is you start off with auto-designed, combat ships, and as you get better ship technology, be it energy or weapons or stuff like that, then you can just send them to port and hit upgrade, and it'll upgrade it to the latest, best version according to the AI. I happen to like taking personal control of my ship design, so I'm going to do that when the time comes. But for now, I'm going to leave it alone. I think that when you leave it in the hands of the AI, it can go good, it can go bad, but it's usually just a mishmash, and I'm not the biggest fan. Fleet manager, this will help you manage your fleets, obviously. When we have a larger fleet, we'll talk about it, in different ship sizes and whatnot. We already kind of talked about technology. I guess stuff to point out. One, there's their experience level. So they can, right now, we can get up to a level 5 scientist. They'll get, experience slowly and level up. Obviously very slowly because I chose that penalty as slow learners. Then there's their expertise. Now, this one right here is an expertise in field manipulation. So that means that any type of research that we do that has the same symbol, field manipulation, they'll get a bonus to that research, in addition to just the regular bonuses they're getting from scientist skill and being fanatic materialists. So you'll see your total bonus in research like right up here, okay? Then, this is kind of your bar. You'll see how close you are in terms of months to, researching something. If you're lucky, you can usually find like a spark of genius, which gives you just like 10%, bonus research across the board. So that's good. This guy doesn't even have an expertise in his field. He has the resilient trait instead, which means he lives longer. So he'll be a higher level at the end of the game for longer. But it's not really the best trait. But basically, you want the highest bonus up here, and you want that because it's going to counteract our Empire Sprawl penalty. And just the higher the bonus is, the faster stuff gets researched. We don't have any factions yet, so we won't mess with that. We haven't met any alien races, so we don't care about claims. Here is our a list of our species, as well as all the species in the Empire, in the galaxy. You can toggle up here and there, and you can see all their traits. Eventually, when we start working on like genetic modification and stuff like that, we'll get rid of this penalty. We'll add some more bonuses to our race, that kind of thing. Finally, the leaders tab. Leaders tab is where you have your leaders. You can have a governor, and they govern sectors, and they provide bonuses just based on their level of skill. They also have a specialty, so this guy actually reduces the cost of buildings and build speed. That's actually really good for a starting governor. And then we've got here, we have our scientist who's on our science ship, and again, he doesn't really have like a great skill. He has increased lifespan, which is good, but it's kind of good later on. We've got our main researchers here, and that's it. So one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to, right off the bat, we're going to try to build another science ship. In the early game, you want as many science ships out there as you can possibly afford, and you want them out there searching around because they'll find possible bonuses. You want them out there, searching for places that you want to claim for yourself. You want them finding out where the other alien civilizations are, and so in general, you want a bunch of researchers. I say, at a bare minimum, you want around 3 science ships out there as soon as possible, researching everything around you. Also, because your leaders die, you can kind of treat your science ships that are out there as, places for other scientists to gain experience, so that when these main researchers do die, they can replace them and they'll start at a higher level. So you want at least 3, maybe 4, and then, depending again on how much your economy can handle, who knows how many. But let's start off by going into our shipyard here. And going to, let's talk about shipyards. So, as I said, you claim a system by building a starbase. Now, if you click on the starbase, you can upgrade it to a star hold. And that'll give you 2 module slots and 1 building slot. And then each successive upgrade makes it more powerful and opens up more slots. So in our first shipyard, we've got a trade hub and a shipyard. And we have a crew quarters, okay? So the shipyard means that this particular starbase can build ships. So here's kind of an overview in your outliner of your starbase. Here's the defensive information. You can build defense platforms. We'll worry about that when we start running into other empires. And then your shipyard. So let's start off just by building a ship right now, okay? It's going to go through all of our current alloys, but we're going to slowly get that back up. And with that, I believe that we can hit unpause and start playing a little bit and let things move forward. And I know that sounds really weird because I've only been talking for 45 minutes, and usually I spend all day talking without unpausing, but I think it's a more streamlined game, so there you go. And let's just speed things up a little bit. Okay, excellent. So we finished building the colony ship, and it looks like our economy kind of sorted itself out, so we're making money now. We're going to start losing it again quickly. But what we want to do is we want to save up money so that we can buy a new science leader. And you just go up to your leaders tab, you hit your recruit, and then you can look at the different types here. And I'm looking at this guy. He's fairly young. He's an archaeologist, so that's good. but he costs 200 credits. We don't have that yet, so we're just going to wait to save up. I probably should have held off on building the ship until I, mathed out when we would hit 200 energy credits, but I didn't, so there you go. So this guy's going to be over here. He's going to start slowly researching this area. And now you see what I did was I kind of clicked on his ship, and I right-clicked and I said survey system, and he's going to survey everything he can. So you see here, if you look on him, he's 35% done with his current job, and he's got 6 more jobs. And then once he's done, you'll get a little pop-up that says this, the system's been surveyed. What do you want to do? Also, this guy, this science ship will turn, it'll have this symbol, like a green or a yellow or a red. It'll have like a yellow or a red symbol here. This new ship's kind of just hanging out because we don't have a scientist for him yet, so it's kind of useless. Alright, now one thing to keep in mind is that stuff takes time. I was watching one guy's stream, and he kept on like sending his science ship here, to research, and then he'd hear about an anomaly on the other side of the galaxy, and he'd send them there directly. He didn't really comprehend that your guys are slowly, and you'll see this bar moving up, they're slowly doing their jobs. And so you'll know that they're free to do something when they're either yellow or red in your outliner. Alright, so it looks like our scientist found a new archaeological site here. Okay. Archaeological sites are, again, there's something new that came in with the latest expansion. They're actually pretty great. They provide bonuses, but you need kind of... You'll be able to, search them faster when you have higher level scientists. And so as this guy goes out and surveys more and more, his experience will go up and he'll be better at his job. So kind of the name of the game early on I found is, unless they're really easy anomalies, you want to kind of ignore anomalies in archaeological sites. You want to survey as far as you can, just so you have eyes on what's out there and where everyone is, so you can try to cut them off, okay? Or in which direction to spread your empire. And then once you have kind of your initial border set, that's when you go back in with your improved scientists and start researching anomalies and archaeological sites. At least that's what I do.
Construction project concluded.
All right. So the construction ship finished building that those two energy mine. So you'll see that there's no more like a symbol here with a number under it for energy because all the energy is taken up. So let's build that additional mining station. I guess he can't because we don't have enough credits here. What we can do is we can kind of set him up to move towards the next mine so that he can start building when he's ready. Ah, there it is. Okay, so I'll send the construction ship here. Now you can right click, you'll see it costs 100, we only have 91 currently. So we're just going to tell him to enter orbit there. So that way when he does get the extra mineral credits, he can start building. And actually right now he's ready to do it. So I'm just going to tell him build the mining station. Alright, so here's an event that came up. We can ignore it for some influence, which is good, or we can do it. We're going to be surveying a bunch of planets anyways, and you get kind of a bonus to that, so we're going to do a habitable world survey. And again, we're just letting time pass as they do their jobs.
Construction project concluded.
So they finished that mine. Let's go ahead and build... which one do we want? I guess we'll do the... doesn't really matter since we're going to build them both. But let's build the engineering research. Now, research stations, they'll give you just a raw... See, so we'll get that 3 extra engineering research to our total research. Again, all of these buildings cost like 1 energy per turn to maintain. So you're going to see our energy amounts, income start to drop as we build all this stuff. But it's the nature of the game. Hopefully we'll find plenty of energy resources in these surrounding galaxies. Oh yeah, the reason, and that's true Firestar, but the reason why I'm doing it now is because minerals are limited, so if I was to go from here right now, it would say I don't have enough minerals to build like the 2 research stations. But definitely, it's much easier and less confusing to do once you have the minerals in stockpile to do it. So this guy finished that, and just to prove the point, we'll right-click and build research station.
System survey concluded.
Okay, so we finished our survey of the system, and we do have a routine anomaly. It's anomaly level 2. Our scientist is level 1. Again, I'm going to leave it be for now. We can always come back and do it later. So where are we going to go next? I say I'm going to swing this scientist around. Yeah, I'm going to swing this scientist around. Whoops. I'm going to swing this scientist around here. We also have enough money now to get a scientist. So let's go to leaders. We'll recruit a scientist. And we'll recruit geologist. Alright, so now we hire the leader. We have to assign him to the science ship. And I'm going to send him out this way to survey. Again, you can just right-click on a system and hit survey system, and they'll survey the whole thing. And you see, it all kind of just takes a little bit of time. Alright. So it looks like we've met some aliens here. Let's take a look at what they are. Alright, so these are like mining drone. Well, I don't want to spoil it for you, but I'm not too worried about these guys. This just means that until we build a strong enough military to go in there and destroy them, it's going to be off limits because they're going to attack our civilian vessels. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into this system, and I'm going to click this system as restricted. That way, when I start telling other units to travel around, they're going to purposely avoid this system because we know that there's enemies there. Meanwhile, this scientist is going to flee and come back. Okay, so we've got another little event chain. That'll get resolved as we do more research. So I'm going to send him out this way to survey this system. And again, he's going to go this way because I restricted this system here.
Construction project concluded.
Alright, so we finished the research station. So we're going to take our construction ship. You see here, he's red with disease. That means he's just sitting around doing nothing. And we'll send him here to build a starbase outpost. Again, I right-click there, and it tells you what the cost is. It costs 75 influence and 100 of your alloys. Should we hold off? Because so far the only stuff in there right now is 2 energy. And there might be like more of a reason to, build out like in a snake-like fashion. So I'm actually going to hold off on claiming that system. That's something that we want because it has like an archaeological artifact in there. But for right now, I'm just going to send this construction ship to kind of hang out in our solar system. Once we find a nearby system with like a habitable planet or a lot of resources, then we'll send them out. Because basically, like with the amount of influence we have stockpiled now, we can only build, and alloys, we can only build like 2 star bases each. So we kind of want to be a little bit more particular. And it does have a planet, but it's an Arctic world, so you see here the habitability is 20%. It's not good for our civilization, so to speak.
Anomaly 10.
For our species. Again, we're going to leave that anomaly alone because we want we want eyes on everything around us. So this one's actually looking a lot better in terms of claiming it, because it's got a decent amount of energy, some minerals, and it's not even done surveying yet.
System survey
Oh, now it is.
without incident.
And chances are with these anomalies, and you can see them here by clicking on this checkbox, there may be even more bonus resources or something else, but again, I'm going to hold off just a little bit longer on sending out my on building or expanding into another system. All right, so we got our first tradition available. I'm going to pick expansion. To start off, it just speeds, just adopting it alone gives you 25% colony development speed. When you finish it off, well, you can read the tooltip. You can pause it and read it. But I always go expansion first, if just for the reduced influence cost and increased admin cap. Alright, so it looks like our first continental world is here. So chances are it's going to be very habitable for us. So I'm going to take our construction ship, and I'm going to send him here to claim this system with a starbase outpost. Now, why didn't I just skip this system and go directly here? If you claim a system that's not adjacent to one already under your control, you pay a penalty in influence. And the farther it is from something you control, the larger the penalty is. So you do kind of stretch out, you kind of go in a chain from one system to the next, in general. Now there are situations like, let's say I found out that, another civilization was like over here, okay, and I also found out that the only way to get like into the whole this whole cluster around here is through here. Then I may, if I've surveyed this section and I know all this information, I may say I'm going to pay the increased penalty just to claim this system, just to prevent him from getting a foothold here and possibly spreading into all this other extra area that I want to claim for myself. But for right now, we're just kind of daisy chaining it. We're going to go from here to here. Also, another thing is, you see here in the Empire capital, I have this red suitcase. That means I have an unemployed pop. So now I'm comfortable building either a building or a district. Now, I'm really torn here because, if I wasn't making so little money, well, maybe I should still... Okay, so I'm thinking about building an alloy foundry, but that'll cost me 4 energy and upkeep just alone by itself. I do want a lot of alloys because I'm going to be building, a military soon, and I'm going to be using it to build star bases and colony ships and all that kind of stuff. I am worried about how much money I have in the bank, and so I am inclined to go ahead and build a district here, a generator district, just so we generate more money off the bat. Now again, if I hadn't chosen Mechanist and I didn't have a bunch of robot pops eating up energy, then I'd probably be free to build an alloy factory right off the bat. But that's a decision that I made, so I'm going to go ahead and build a generator district. Also, let's look at what type of unemployed pop it is. Okay, so it is one of our species. That's important to note when you do have robots in your empire, because starting off, robots can't work. They can't work advanced like jobs, so anything that's a building, robots can't do it starting off. They also can't work in generator districts starting off. Now, as you increase your tech and robotics, they will be able to do this and eventually everything. But right now, they're just farmers and work in industry. So let's build a district for generators, and that'll be done shortly. And so we'll just let this run for a little bit.
System survey concluded.
Okay, we finished our system survey up here. This one looks okay. It's got some energy in it, but we're going to keep surveying.
Construction project concluded.
Okay, so we finished our star base, and you see that our little empire's expanded a little bit. We're just going to go straight ahead and build all the mining stations in here, so we can get more energy and more minerals.
Construction project concluded.
And we've finished building our district. So you see our unemployed population went away. We're going to start making more money next month. And I think that the next building I'm going to build, hopefully we'll keep getting like systems with more energy. Next one I want to build is probably going to be an alloy factory. Also, you'll see here that our amenities are getting kind of low. You don't want this to go negative. You want it positive. So we'll keep an eye on that. Again, we're going to leave it alone for now, because we just want to get eyes out there on what's going on. And we're getting close to another 200 energy credits, so I say we go ahead and build another science ship. So again, we're just going to click on our shipyard, and science ship, and let that build through. Now we're going to go ahead and move here. We don't have enough alloys, or hasn't been fully surveyed, sorry. So we'll just move him here so that when it's fully surveyed we can claim it. There we go. And we'll just go on and continue surveying. Down this way. Okay, so we found every game you get, there's like a precursor species you get randomly. We got the Eurasian Concordant. It's not the best one out there, but fine. It's fine.
Construction project concluded.
Okay, so we built our next science ship. Let's hire another leader. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to hire this guy with a spark of genius. Okay. And then we're going to go to our research. And this guy here, he's just resilient. He doesn't have an actual like specialty. So we're going to replace him with the guy with Spark of Genius. And you'll see here now that the rate at which he's, has a bonus to research is much higher than everybody else's. And this is for all different types of society tech. And then we're going to take that guy that we just took off the job who's resilient. We're going to put him in charge of the science ship. And we're going to send him out to survey some more. I think I'm going to send him over here. Alright, so we've got our 3 science ships out there doing their science thing. We're slowly kind of building up our resources. Again, a little bit worried about money. Hopefully that'll sort itself out. But we're just letting time continue. Alright, and it looks like we found another continental world over here. Now what I could do is I could build another construction ship. That's going to cost us 100 alloys and, 1 energy maintenance. I feel like we're kind of still limited by influence and alloys and stuff, so as soon as this guy's done building, as soon as this guy's done building here and claiming all the energy resources and mineral resources, I'm going to have him swing around, claim this system and then this one, because you really want to make a beeline towards worlds that are habitable for you. Okay. So we have another unemployed pop. Now you're going to scratch your head and say, but we have an available job. That's because the unemployed pop is a robot. So, what can we do with this robot? I mean, if we had another colony, we could just send them directly there. But we don't have that. We could build an alloy factory. And then guys who are currently working in districts, they will promote up into the factory, hopefully leaving a vacancy for the robot to fill. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and build an alloy factory, and hopefully that solves the issue. If not, my bad. Okay, system survey is done there. Let's kind of keep just searching around, see what we can find. So I guess let's talk about promotions too. Well, let's go to our planet screen for that. In general, your populations want the highest status jobs out there. So these are specialist jobs, okay? And if you have just an organic population, right? So just, you know, these humans for in our case, and you have empty jobs in both, let's say, a research lab and a generator district, they will fill up the research lab first because it's like a higher status job, and then future populations will fill the lower status generator job. So it's another reason why you like what I'm doing right now. I'm not very comfortable with it because I'm afraid like that it might pull from like generator districts as opposed to like, you know, mining or agriculture. And it's another reason why you kind of want to wait till you have unemployment till you build anything new. Populations do demote downwards, but it takes a while, so you got to be careful with that. Okay, so we've met another alien craft here. Alright, it's more of these little droids here. So we'll mark this off as restricted, so no one goes there. And hopefully our guys escape before getting blown up. And this guy is going to build a starbase here. There's the hostile fleets, and we have enough tradition to pick a, you know, tradition. So we're going to pick the star-based influence reduction. You can never have enough influence in your empire. Excellent. This guy didn't get blown up, so let's keep on surveying. Alright, let's take a look here.
Construction project concluded.
Let's build up these mining stations.
System survey concluded.
Alright, so that system's done. Let's survey this one, and we'll send this guy around this way to kind of search this branch here.
Construction project concluded.
Yuck. See, I shouldn't have done that. For some reason, this game like really like deprioritizes clerk jobs, and I don't know why that is. So we've basically what we've got here is now we're just gonna be making even less money, and we're still gonna have an unemployed robot pop, and we can't even destroy it because these guys will be they won't demote. Oh, what an annoying thing. Okay, so let's just go ahead and build another. I don't know. Let's build a mineral district. So don't do what I just did. This one's a really good system. It's got 5 energy, 10 minerals. It's kind of like a choke point. Something to consider. So let's go. Let's go kind of west with this guy.
Construction project concluded.
Alright, so we've built all that. Let's build a starbase outpost out here.
Anomaly found.
Leave that alone for now. Completed some research. Let's build the research the armor. We found some volatile motes. That's good. And let's pick just the base research speed. That's always good to have.
Construction project concluded.
Alright, so unemployment went away, but we're paying a bunch of maintenance. Yuck, yuck, yuck.
Concluded.
And we got more Unity coming in and better edicts. So let's choose the farming subsidies. Now let's go over to our policies because our technology allowed, or edicts, because our technology allowed for other edicts. Now, when we have enough money and money's not an issue, we're going to want to run a healthcare campaign just for the increased growth bonus. Again, population growth is key. Another thing we can do is we have about 1,000 food. Now, a bunch of food sitting around, I mean, it may be good, like if we get into a war and we lose our agricultural planets, we can avoid starvation. But we're producing 10 a turn. Now we can do two things with this. We can go to the market and we can sell a bunch of food for some cash, which would be useful since we're not making any money right now at the moment. Or what we can do is we can go to our planet here in Altair Prime and go to decisions. Okay, there's a bunch of different decisions, but there's one called Encourage Planetary Growth, which encourages population growth speed by 25%. That's the one that I am going to do. You see here, and we're also losing happiness due to a lack of amenities. So once we have a free pop, well, that will actually increase as people fill in the clerk jobs that were lost. But that'll probably be our next thing. We'll be probably building some kind of an amenity generating thingamajig. So. Again, we're just going to keep exploring.
Anomalous readings registered. Construction project concluded.
Let's build that mining station. The other thing we can do is once we get up to 200 food, we can go ahead and build a colony ship at our shipyard. Yeah, because we're just missing the food here. So that's something we can do too. I really wanted to get that population growth going because my economy is kind of out of whack because of that alloy factory and those jobs. So. Again, our energy situation isn't too bad. It's just not good. So let's build another starbase outpost here. So we'll have another system where we can build a colony. With this science ship, let's go down this here towards this trinary system. What do we got here? Oh, look, another continental world. That's great.
System survey.
And so you kind of want to snake your empire towards habitable worlds you can have and choke points. And so that's kind of a good idea. So once this system's built, our next starbase is going to be like here, because it may stop people from coming in this way. And then we're going to snake towards this continental world. Let's check out over there. Okay, so it looks like there's aliens over here. What kind are they? Alright, there are more of those mining drones. So we'll mark this as a restricted system. Now the good thing about these mining drones is they're also going to prevent early on. Now later when empires are more powerful, it won't stop them. But it's going to prevent other empires from coming in this way. So while it does block our expansion, it also acts as kind of a natural choke point. So I'm okay with them being kind of on these like single star lanes that cut off to different areas, if that makes any sense.
Construction project concluded.
Alright. Build a little bit of energy mines there. Looks like another group of aliens. Man, I'm surrounded by mining droids. That's good, though. That means that these systems are going to be high in minerals, usually. How long does the research project take? Let's go to our situation log. We'll go to mass extinction. Yeah, why don't we have this guy research that one research project? That shouldn't take too long. And we have another options here, so we're going to pick the increased administrative capacity. You see here we're almost at the cap of 30. This will prevent any penalties from being applied for another 20 units. So that's a good one to have. So we can keep on expanding.
Anomalous readings registered. Construction project concluded.
Leave that alone. Also, if you double click on your outliner, you can like zoom to wherever your ship is. So I'm going to send him out to snake towards this continental world here. This is also a really good system, so that's just icing on the cake.
Project concluded.
Maybe we'll swing down here because it looks like this is a dead end, and then we'll swing back up again around. Who knows if there's something useful up there. Now, one of my weaknesses... Okay, so we finished the habitable world survey, so we get 500 society and 500 credits, which is great. Much better than 20 influence, I think. So one of my weaknesses is I don't build a military soon enough, because early on in the game, I consider a military to be just like wasted money, because they require maintenance and you have to spend alloys to build them and all that. So I'm going to try to correct that this time around, but for now, again, I would rather just have the minimum for military unless we need it.
Anomaly found.
It's a pretty routine anomaly, but again, we'll leave it alone just until we know where our neighbors are at, and then we'll come around for them.
Anomaly found.
Again, we'll leave that alone for now. We also have enough food to build a colony. So we're going to build on the larger of the two continental worlds. So one way we can do it is just go to our expansion planner, and we'll search by habitability, and then we're going to pick the size 24 habitable world. This one right here. And then we just choose here. And it's going to start building in our shipyard, the colony ship. And then it'll automatically go and colonize the planet. So it cuts down on micromanagement a tiny bit.
System survey concluded.
Okay, let's go in this direction, see what we can find. We've also got enough money and income now
Project concluded.
that I'm thinking about possibly building another science ship. Just to start exploring down in this direction. I don't know if that's something I should do or not. Let's hold off for now. Actually, it doesn't really matter. It's a moot point because we're already building a colony ship. So we'll wait till our 2 colonies are settled. Possibly 3. We'll leave that be for now.
System survey concluded.
Alright. So that survey's done.
System survey concluded. Construction project concluded.
Alright, so that colony ship's already automatically going over in that direction. I think we'll just wait a little bit until our next 200 food, and then we'll build this next colony ship. Now, just so you're aware, colonies, they don't start off being productive at all. They're like in a colonial phase, where they're just going to eat a bunch of your money. But that's okay. We've got some stockpiled. We're making a pretty good income here. So if you're wondering why I'm looking in to see what kind of alien types these are, this is just from experience. And I want to make sure that there's, like, you know, I just want to know what kind they are, so I'll know kind of what the threat is, if they move around or not.
System survey concluded.
We'll leave that alone for now.
System survey concluded.
Look at that, 9 energy. That's pretty good. Okay, so it looks like we can build another colony ship. So let's build it on a Serban 3. So again, we'll just go to Expansion Planner. We'll look at Serban 3. And build it.
Initial colonization phase commencing. Construction project concluded.
Okay, so that's done. Let's start snaking towards Craxima here with that other planet that we can settle. Looks we found another archaeological site there.
Research concluded.
Okay, so let's do the research first. Great. Let's just take the bonus research speed for that. We know about that. So there's an election coming. It looks like everyone's got an equal shot. I really don't care too much about who wins. I don't think this guy is necessarily suited for this game right now. So I'm not going to waste any influence supporting a particular candidate. Okay, so we have a new leader. Let's leave this alone for now. Let's talk about what happened. Okay, so first let's just send this construction ship to build the stations. Our new leader is a fortifier, which isn't useful now. It may be when we run into another civilization. And he actually has reduced building cost, which is pretty good. Not the best, but we also have a new tradition. I'm going to pick new colonies start with additional population, because you see here we've got one colony starting to be developed. We have another colony ship being built. We're going to have a third one soon. And that extra pop is going to be a big boost. So let's take that extra pop. What I was trying to get at, though, is that sometimes a scientist or a researcher or a governor might win the election, in which case you have to remember to fill their position. But
System survey concluded.
I'm going to swing this guy up here because maybe this is a dead end here, and then we'll know we can just continue, focusing in this direction. We'll just see what's up there.
Research concluded.
Alright. I don't know if I should go for geothermal fracking or zero-G refineries. They both provide a output to mining. Well, let's see here. We produce 78.74, right? And if we look on our capital, we have 3 out of 6 districts. Each one has 2 jobs that produce 8. So 48. So I guess we still produce more by mining right now than we do from orbital stuff. Alright, so we built another colony ship. And I think that by the time we have another 200 food or around there, we'll be able to colonize this system. Looks like we have another unemployed pop. And you'll see here the amenities went back up, but that's because we have more clerk jobs, but it's at 0 now. So I think that what we're going to do is we're going to build a... well, what do we have for an option here? I think we're going to build a hollow theater. Yeah. Hollow theaters provide like the best base bonus of amenities. They also produce a little bit of tradition or unity. So that's good too. So let's do this.
Research concluded. System survey concluded.
Leave it be for now. I want that extra energy credit from technicians, so we'll take that. It's also the cheapest. It's nice to knock out a bunch of cheap techs early. And actually, I've been thinking about my choice here. So, hollow theaters. You need... Okay, so I think we're still good in terms of consumer goods. Because we're going to be running up against the kind of a consumer goods... The next thing we're probably going to want to build is a consumer goods factory. How are we for population? And we're like 1 pop off from that, so yeah. We're in a good place. Let's grab this guy. And let's survey here.
Construction project concluded.
So you'll see here you've got this little ring symbol with a 3. That's trade value. This is natural trade value in a system. So trade value is produced by populations usually. So you'll see the highest trade value numbers over your colonies themselves. But why isn't it showing over Altair as opposed to Sigelia? Well, if we were to click here, you'll see that our Altair, the populations there produce 11 units of trade, but that's automatically picked up by this starbase because it has a trade hub. And so a trade hub just basically means that it collects in the system and in each adjacent system. Okay, so if we were to build a starbase here, this 4 in trade would be collected. And so what is trade and what is the use of trade? Well, if we go to our policies here, you're going to see trade policy. We're right now we're on wealth creation. We can also do consumer benefits and marketplace of ideas. Okay, I knew that money was going to be tight early on, so I went with wealth creation. That means trade is converted from 1 piece of trade to 1 energy credit, like on a 1-to-1 basis. Consumer benefits, you get 0.5 energy and 0.25 consumer goods for each unit of trade, and marketplace of ideas is 0.5 energy and 0.25 unity for each unit of trade. Now, looking at our starbase here, we can see that he collects, 1 unit away each. But we also see that these 2 colonies in Serban and Ubukros, I'm not very good with that, but they're not going to get any trade collected because he only has a range of 1. So one of the things we can do is when we research the next level of a starbase in our, via technology, we can upgrade the starbase and build an additional trade hub, and then it will be able to collect up to 2 systems away. So they'll be able to cover our primary system as well as our 2 colonies here, and then up to here and up to here. So that's something to consider. Also, if we have like a colony way out here, we might want to build a starbase system here. Might want to upgrade the starbase here and then put on another, another trade hub. And what that'll do is that means that any, trade generated, within, like, let's say here or here or here, that'll get picked up and it'll get shipped back to the capital, because the capital is where we collect our trade. And I guess you can move that around as well. So it's good because it provides extra money or extra money plus something else. The bad news is that once trade starts getting high and it starts being sent from far away, then pirates start appearing. So we're going to have to deal with those. But for right now, we're in a good place.
Evading hostiles.
Right. And again, I'm just marking these places as restricted just so these guys don't go there by mistake.
Initial colonization phase commencing.
So you see here now we're I know we're still under our cap here.
Anomaly found.
Okay, so it looks like we're in a dead end up here. So as soon as this guy's done researching down here, I'm going to send him down this branch here to see what we've got over there.
Construction project concluded.
Okay, now you remember how I was harping on how, influence is very important to use carefully? You see here, like, we did manage to get to this system which has the habitable planet, but we're pretty much out of influence and we're just slowly starting to gain it back. So once this guy is done constructing, the mining stations and research stations, we're going to kind of just have to let him rest for a little bit because we need our influence to grow enough that we can start claiming more systems. So again, be very careful with how you use your influence. Influence will start to raise up as we get factions, also as we meet other species, through rivalries and whatnot. But especially early game, you can burn it through it real fast. But since we do have this claimed, we can build another colony. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to Expansion Planner, Craxima Prime.
Construction project concluded.
And you see here, it's got this little up icon. That means we can upgrade the fleet. I'm going to hold off on that now because when I upgrade, I'm going to upgrade it all at once. And so I'm going to upgrade my fleet, design new ships, and start beefing up my military as soon as I run into another civilization, regardless of whether it's friendly or not. Hopefully they are friendly. I prefer to have friendly neighbors, at least to start. But you never know with this game. I started this one game where I had like an amazing start. I was playing like a post-apocalyptic species, and like right next to me there's like this like one section of space where a bunch of tomb planets appear, and like it was right next door to me, so I had like a bunch of like size 24 tomb planets like day one, all in my system, home system. But I was also surrounded by a bunch of like fanatic exterminators and fanatic, cleansers and all that kind of stuff, and it just was a really tough neighborhood. Didn't do so well. Okay, let's skip this again. Sorry for the digression.
Survey concluded.
So that guy's done. Let's do the research project.
Anomaly found.
You'll also see if you kind of scroll in, some of these anomalies are like level 10, some are level 3, some are level 1. Obviously, the lower the number, the easier it is for your scientists to research, so the faster it'll go.
Special project concluded.
So let's send this guy down here to survey. He is like a level 3. Now let's stick to our original plan. We're gonna keep surveying until we know what our borders are. Then we'll start researching anomalies. All right, so we've got another unemployed robot. Let's go ahead and build another just food place just to stick them. Conversely, we could wait until these colonies are complete and then ship robots out. Let's take a look at our home planet. Let's build another ag district. Well, yeah, not much way. Let's build another agriculture district.
Construction project concluded.
And we'll build a research station. Look at that, 15 energy in one system. That is good.
Construction project concluded.
Okay, and there is enough influence to build another starbase. I'm not quite sure in what direction I want to build it in yet. On the one hand, if we start to go towards here, there's a whole bunch of energy here. But there's not really anything in the way of like habitable planets. I also kind of want to maybe conserve influence so that when we do meet another species, we'll be able to kind of rush claiming systems towards a checkpoint. So what I think I'm going to do with this construction ship is I'm just going to kind of like have them hang out in this system, okay? And then we'll just keep an eye out for, if there's another habitable planet, we'll start kind of moving towards it. If not, we'll hang out until we find another alien civilization.
Construction project concluded. System survey concluded without incident.
Alright, let's keep researching. And we can pick another tradition. Both of these would be useful. Let's go with pop growth speed. And we'll pick reduced maintenance last.
Initial colonization phase complete.
Excellent. So our first colony is up. Let's take a look at it. It's got lots of energy, lots of mining, a little bit of agriculture. What I like to do for the first building, once we have unemployment, is I'm going to build a district. Because we need just that extra housing early on, just so we can start building everything else. But for right now, since there's no unemployment, I'll leave it alone. I also noticed that in here is an ocean world, so let's take our construction ship and let's start building towards the ocean world, because that's going to be within our habitable matrix, so to speak. So it won't be as habitable as these continental worlds at 80%, but it should be at around 70%, and that's still pretty good. I say like anything yellow or green in terms of habitability, it's good enough for me, but some people are more selective. I'll leave that alone. Man, that ocean world's at 85. It must have some kind of positive modifier on it. Let's take a look. Look at that. Sea of Consciousness. Got some extra society, some extra research. But reduced governing ethics attraction. So governing ethics attraction is basically how closely your citizens are likely to cleave to your civilization values of egalitarianism and materialism. So you want to have them cleave as closely as possible, but you know, you can't help it. Alright, so it looks like we met some aliens. Let's see what kind they are. Okay, these are Tianki, so they're not hostile.
Construction project concluded. System survey concluded.
Alright, that's done. Let's leave it alone till, again.
Initial colonization phase commencing.
Now you'll see here that these ones are all in the same Altair Prime sector. That means they share the same governor. Since this one's too far, it started its own sector here in Craxima. And I'm guessing this is going to be its own sector too. Kind of annoying, but you can't really do much about it.
Anomaly found. Construction project concluded.
Okay, let's take a look here. We have just enough influence for the next starbase. And we'll send this guy towards the black hole.
Research concluded.
Let's choose the research station output.
System survey concluded. Initial colonization Colonization phase complete.
Excellent. I'm still good.
Research concluded.
And let's choose afterburners. Those are useful to have.
Special project concluded.
Okay.
Research concluded.
Let's pick the pop growth speed. Mine some of that energy.
Special project concluded. Anomaly found.
Alright, so we have our first bit of unemployment on our colony. As we said before, we're going to go ahead and build a housing district just so we can get some extra housing to attract colonists. Now keep in mind that running a bunch of colonies is going to really slow down the growth rate on your capital. And that's because there's going to be a lot of people emigrating to these new worlds. But because we do have that kind of species-wide talent of I forget what it was called, but we're going to benefit from that in terms of like raw growth, if that makes any sense.
Construction project concluded.
Alright, so we're going to move here because we don't have quite enough influence, but hopefully by the time he moves, we'll be able to claim it, claim one more world for ourselves. We're still under the limit, so that's good. That's why our research and society, our traditions are moving so quickly, but that's going to change soon.
System survey concluded.
Alright, let's we need 4 more influence, so 2 more months is going to be able to build that
Evading
starbase.
hostiles.
We're going to mark this as restricted. Look at all those black holes. Ooh. We do have another 1,000 food. We're doing pretty good on energy and minerals. And it looks like that modifier has worn off for food growth. So I'm going to encourage planetary growth again on our capital. And if we look here on our population here, you'll see that we're only growing at 1.02 a month, despite a base growth of 3, and all these, positive modifiers, rapid breeders, nutritional plenitude, new life, growth encouraged. But because of emigration to other planets, it's, dropped down to 1.02. So we want to keep our growth on the capital as quick as high as possible. And again, we're not losing those people, they're just moving to different areas, and that's fine.
System survey concluded.
Let's move up this way. See what we've got. I'm actually surprised I haven't bumped into another alien civilization yet. My guess is that they're probably like right over there. One of them at least. Okay, so we've met some kind of an alien space station. Now, this isn't like an actual empire, I can already tell you, But what we do want to do is we do want to go into our situation log. And what are these aliens called? The Cytine. We want to investigate the Cytine. What this means is that for 14 months, we're not going to be producing any kind of society research, but we're going to be researching how to communicate with these guys. Now, the benefits of being able to communicate them are obvious, right? You can talk with them, figure out what they want, work with them. The other is that if you translate their language before they translate your language, you get a bonus to your influence, and then that can be used to spread further out, you know, into the stars. So, okay, so it looks like we've got some unemployed pops in our capital. It's one of our primary species. So let's build a consumer goods factory, because we're starting to run low on it. It's only going to keep going down as our population of our empire keeps growing, and we have plenty of mineral income. So let's go ahead and build civilian industries.
Construction project concluded. Anomaly found. Construction project concluded.
Alright, so we've built the starbase there. Let's go ahead and build another ship. This is Wither. Expansion planner. Wither. Why is this not happening? Oh, okay, I know why. Okay, so there's actually an anomaly over the planet of Wither, and it's a level 5 anomaly, and you cannot colonize a planet that has an anomaly over it. So we're actually gonna have to send our guy back and waste a bunch of time researching the anomaly. So I should have thought about that sooner, but
System survey concluded.
now I know. So I'm going to send him specifically back to just research this one anomaly. It's going to take a while, but as soon as it's done, we can colonize the planet. And hopefully it's something good and not something bad. Alright, we found some dark matter over here.
Anomaly found.
Alright, we have another unemployed pop on one of our colonies. Again, we're going to start off by just building a city district. Just for that extra space. And we can finish out our galactic ambition, or our expansion tree. So we're going to get faster colony development. And we can build one extra district in all of our planets. And now we get to pick an ascension perk. They're all pretty great. You know, for instance, like Starbase influence cost and claim cost negative 20% each. That's good. But the one that I'm going to choose is going to be technological ascendancy, because I'm going to need something to counteract all the penalty we get for expanding beyond our limit. So I'm going to pick technological ascendancy as our first ascendancy perk.
System survey concluded. System survey concluded without incident.
Vault up. Let's take a look at what's in Vault up. Okay, so you see here how we've got all these question marks that say Delta aliens. This is our first alien civilization that we're meeting. So, a wise thing, a wise thing to do would be to try to build towards them in terms of claiming systems, in the hopes that, we can cut them off here at Site and they can't get into this area. The thing is that we're short on influence, but I still think that's a good idea. Since this is the closest alien civilization, we should at least expand, to here. And then hopefully, they won't expand any further in this direction, but I just don't know where their home planet is. So, as soon as my construction ship is done here, I'm going to move them back this way, and we're going to try to cut them off here at Sitine. Unfortunately, also, we're researching the Sitine language, but hopefully we'll finish that off, and then we'll try to translate these Voldup aliens, or Delta aliens as they're called. And that should give us maybe an influence boost on both.
Anomaly found.
Also, what this means is I should probably start beefing up my military, as much as I hate to do that. So let's take a look at our ship designer. It's not like we even have any good weapons or anything. So let's just keep building the regular auto ships that they have for now. And then once we have some better weapons and options, we'll switch it around. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade my fleet here that exists already. And then as soon as that's done, we're going to start just adding ships. And these guys may not be the best fighters, but just the number of ships alone may give pause, if this is a hostile alien race, to immediately declaring war on us. So we'll go into our shipyard, and we're just going to start building these corvettes. So that should be 17 ships queued up. Yep. And obviously we'll interrupt all this massive building spree, because we want to get to our limit here. We'll interrupt this massive building spree when this anomaly has been researched. Okay. Oh, great. See, so... okay, so they translated us, but they're the Curator Order. They're actually a really good, minor civilization, so to speak. We'll try to see if we can get some kind of a deal with them to increase our research speed. Also, because we finally made contact with an alien race, factions are being founded. So it looks like a technology faction has been founded, so let's take a look at our factions. Well, 2 of them have been founded. So the Free Thought Alliance is basically our egalitarian faction, and so far they seem pretty happy with us. So they're going to be giving us extra influence per turn. And our science faction's pretty happy with us, so they're going to be giving us extra influence per turn. As long as I believe it's above 60%, they will give influence. So that number is going to go up. The other thing we can do now is we can try to research in our situation log the Delta aliens' communications. And hopefully we do it first, so we get more influence. Let's also go to our contacts, right? Talk to the Curator Order and communicate with them. And we'll ask them if they can aid us in our research. And it's going to cost us 1,000 energy. It'll improve their opinion of us, but it'll also increase our research speed by 10%. That's actually a great deal. It's never going to get any cheaper. The bigger your empire, the more it's going to cost. So let's purchase that service.
Construction project concluded.
Alright, let's start swinging it on this way. Towards Sitine. And in fact, I don't know why I have this guy surveying here, since it's obviously another alien civilization's area. But what the heck? It gives us eyes on if they're going to be moving any guy up towards Site-Team. All right, let's start this chain off. I've never gotten it before. So hopefully now, if we were to go to our expansion planner, we could colonize. Okay, so what we're gonna do is hold off on this. We're gonna go back to our space station here, and we're gonna cancel all these current Corvette orders, and instead we're gonna build a another colony. And then when that's done, we'll send them back to, we'll go ahead and build a bunch of Corvettes. So right now we have 5 plus 1 in production, so that's 6, so we do 14 more. Or at least as many as we can build right now. And this guy, we're going to send him back to do this research project.
System survey concluded. Construction project concluded. Initial colonization phase complete.
All right, we are getting there. This is actually a pretty good start, all things considered.
An alien empire has established communications.
All right, so we managed to, decrypt their language, and so we got that extra influence bonus. Oh, and look at that. Their values match up with ours perfectly, except we're more materialist, less egalitarian. They're the other way around. So we are going to be best friends forevers with these guys. And that's good news, because it's kind of one less front that I have to worry about in terms of an invasion. And so you'll see here now, all these bonuses for why they like us, because we're materialists, we're egalitarians, we're also a democracy just like them. They are militarily superior to us, because again, I'm always bad at building enough ships in time. So let's communicate with them, see what we can do. Right off the bat, what we can do is form a research agreement with them. This means that we're going to be able to share research, and I think that's a good idea. In the old game, it used to say like how many they're equivalent to us in technology, but in the old game when you were doing these agreements, it used to say like how many tech state could help you in and how many techs you could help them in. But in any case, I'm kind of the opinion that we should, in any case, form a research agreement with them. It's going to cost us a little bit of influence each month, but it's going to build up trust, so we can build, we can start to form like non-aggression pacts and defensive pacts. And also, it'll help us with research that they know. We'll help them with research that we know. So we'll both become stronger for it. And since I have a feeling we're never going to be going to war with each other, I don't care if they're technologically more powerful. Does that make any sense? So we'll just offer them the research agreement. And he accepts. So let's see if there's anything else that we can offer him in terms of diplomacy. So he's not open to anything else. That's fine. Eventually his trust is going to go up, and either he'll offer us something or we'll offer him something. And I'm ready to go full alliance with this guy. His values are my values. We can watch each other's backs, and I still have plenty of avenues for expansion elsewhere. So I'm not worried about that. So I'm going to send this guy from Vault up back this way. I am still going to try to cut him off at the pass, but I won't be hurt if he, ends up cutting me off. We can take influence and unity or research. I'm going to go with research for this one.
Research concluded.
All right. Just all about that extra research. I know I should probably be like doing combat computers.
Construction project concluded. System survey concluded.
So looks like we have an unemployed pop here.
Expanded.
Let's build a generator district here. Also, I'm thinking, since we still haven't met, like, an alien race that's going to be hostile to us, I'm going to hold off on building any more ships than what we're building right now.
Anomaly found. Construction project concluded.
So we've still got a very weak fleet, but I'd rather like build a fleet off that's a little bit more technologically advanced and save on maintenance in the meantime than build up a fleet right away. Again, I will fully acknowledge that I think that I err on that side far too much to be safe, but it's worked for me in the past. So.
Construction project concluded. Construction project concluded.
Okay, let's move down this way, build a starbase, and then hopefully cut him off at Cytine. For Serban Prime. That'll solve itself out. He just has to get a job. And this right here, they also need jobs here. So let's build a generator district just to start off.
System survey concluded. Anomaly found. Research concluded.
All right. Oh, this is a good one. Gene clinics. So, they're buildings you can build on your planet. That they're kind of like entertainment districts, but they only provide the jobs only provide 10 amenities, but they also improve pop growth by 10%. That's actually a really good one to have, so I'm gonna go for that.
System survey.
And then depending on like the amenity level, I may replace my theaters with the pop growth ones, but I don't know yet about that.
Research concluded.
Oh, excellent. So we want... Okay, if you ever get a chance for any type of tech that exploits special resources, so that's volatile motes, exotic gases, rare crystals, living metal, zero, dark matter nanites. Always pick it, because you never know when you'll get the chance to get it again, and you want it. You know, having strategic resources can really turn the game around for you. I don't even think there's any exotic crystals near my empire. I haven't even found any yet, but I'm still taking the tech just because I never know when the next time it'll come around is.
Construction project concluded.
Got another election coming up. Now you're going to see that now that we have factions, there's going to be certain people that lead in the polls because they have the support of all the factions. So that's okay.
Anomalous readings registered. System survey concluded.
Again, I feel like influence is just way too important to waste on elections. I see. So because they're both scientists, they're just kind of switching jobs as they win and lose elections. Let's take a look here. Sorry, DCMS, I'm reading your messages right now. I was aware about the shift queuing. I didn't know about the control shift queuing, so thanks for letting me know that. I'm one of these people that I'm a real micromanager, and you can actually even see it from the way I even go about these streams. In that, you know, I'll spend the first 45 minutes just talking about menus and buttons. I think I have a little bit of an OCD thing going on, but yeah, I will I will keep that in mind moving forward. Thanks for chiming in, Ben. So if you hit the control, you can do it in order before that. Okay, thanks, Ben. So on Craxima Prime, again, I'm going to start off just by building a city district, just so we have that extra housing.
Construction project concluded.
Alright, we can build new stuff on the Empire capital. We don't have enough population to build another building, but that's fine. I think we should probably build... I don't know, let's say another... You see, okay, so let's talk about specialization of planets. I'm pretty bad with specialization on planets. Basically, you're supposed to take, you know, whatever they're best at and build all the districts for that there, and then build another one that's, you know, let's say it's all good at other stuff. And then you'll get special bonuses based on what your planet is specialized in. Now, your capital planet always gets the Empire capital bonus. It never changes. So you can fill it out kind of to fill in the gaps in your planet's, you know, types accordingly. So I say we go ahead and we build another ag district just to bump up our food production a little bit. It'll also give something for the robots to do, and since it is a robot, we can do that. The other thing we can do is we can export these robots to our colonies. That's something we haven't done yet, and maybe that's what we should do. So we can talk about moving populations. Let's take a look at our colonies here. Well, the robots wouldn't work on any of them because they're all either city districts, node districts, or energy districts. So let's for now, let's just build an ag district in our capital, and we'll move the robots around later.
Colonization phase commencing. Anomaly found.
Now, a lot of these anomalies have to do with like our precursor race, especially the ones closer to our capital. So we're going to want to clear them out first, but I still feel that the utility of just knowing where your natural borders are going to end, it outweighs researching the anomalies early on. I mean, unless it's like a really good precursor species, maybe. But ours is just okay. But, you know, if you disagree, feel free to chime in. Let me know via chat. Alright, so it looks like we're going to cut off these guys in Site Team, so that's good. Well, that's not a good trait to have.
Construction project concluded.
Let's do it, though. In the name of chat. We'll survey here, and we'll survey here.
Construction project concluded.
Alright, so it looks like we found kind of a natural border to our ally here. It's also good because we have the curator order within our borders. Now, I don't think it matters for our current factions, but I know that for, like, I believe it's a faction that represents the Xenophiles. They like it when you have, like, one of these curator orders or economic, like, sub-empires. I don't know what you call them. What do you call them? Other. They like it, and so that'll increase faction happiness. And I believe it also increases the opinion, but I could be wrong, of the guys who are in your borders. But this is good, because even though we're going to be friendly with these guys to our south because they share our values, we're going to still want to kind of build a starbase here or here, basically so that if an enemy was to cut through their lands into ours, we'd have some line of defense. We're going to hold off on that for now since we don't know what's out there. But speaking of our friends to the south, let's see if they'd be open to anything else. No, they're not. So how long have I been talking? Okay, I've been talking for way too long. This episode's gone on way too long. For a stream, it would be fine to continue going, but I'm kind of editing these down and putting them up on YouTube as absolute beginner guides. So, you know, it's just hell to edit a long video. And I also think that no one wants to look at them, because who wants to watch a 2.5-hour tutorial video? So I'm going to put a pin in it. For all you guys who chimed in and said hello, thanks so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it. Oh, thanks for hanging out. I come on every Saturday and Sunday around 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to check it out, come check it out. I've got a bunch of stuff on YouTube and for other Paradox games. But hope you all have a nice weekend. And with that, I'll see you all next week.